Let us begin as we must always begin, by doing nothing of ourselves. For 10 seconds, only 10, close the inner door. Lay aside the hurried thought, the anxious plan, the memory and the fear. Inwardly, without words upon the lips, but with meaning in the heart, let us acknowledge, Father, thy presence goes before me. Thy presence is the light upon this hour. Be still and know that I am God. Now let the silence do its holy work. Father, this is thy session. We have no thought to offer except as thou givest it. These lips are thine. These ears are thine. These hearts are thine. If there be wisdom, it is thy mind. If there be love, it is thy love. If there be correction, it is thy gentle rod and thy staff that comfort us. We would not come as those who bring buckets to a dry well. We come as branches to the vine, saying with the Master, I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Those of you who have traveled far, you have not come to hear a man. You have come to be quiet enough to hear God. We shall listen together. I stand not as authority but as instrument, not as a source but as a reed upon which the breath plays the tune of this hour. And you, too, are instruments, each one a place where God stands revealed. If you listen within, the same voice that bathes this room will whisper in the sanctuary of your own being, where no human teacher may enter and no human system may intrude. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Set your expectation rightly. There will be no sign-ups at the door, no memberships, no rosters, no pledges. We have no organization. We have only God. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. What we are about is the freeing of your ear from every outer bell, that it may hearken to the inner chime. The lamp is not the light, the instrument is not the music. If, as we sit, there is a quickening in you, let it be settled now that your guidance will not come from me, nor from any plan printed in a booklet, but from the indwelling presence that saith, I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with mine eye. This small beginning, the 10-second surrender, is not a trifle. It is the doorway by which the day passes from your hands to God's. Except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. What is true of houses and cities is true of sessions such as this, of errands to the market, of letters to be written, of words to be spoken or withheld. As the heart bows, the way straightens. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. A moment ago, in our silence, some of you felt the weight shift. Did you notice it? The shoulders lighten, the breath lengthens, the drive to perform begins to loosen its fingers. That is not suggestion. That is presence. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. And when the soul is restored, counsel is simple. We need no machinery for that. We need no enrollment for that. We need willingness to say before any act, Father, thy presence goes before me. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. So we take our stand at the very outset. This meeting belongs to God. We do not rush the hour, for haste is unbelief. We do not drag it, for delay is fear. We abide and we watch. And as we watch, the gentle inner word will arise, not as thunder, but as the soft answer that turneth away wrath, as the small nudge that correcteth a course, as the light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. If you will permit it, this simple pause will be our covenant. Before we speak, before we listen, before we conclude, Father, this is thy session. Lead thou us on. Now then, let us face quietly and honestly why there are no rosters, no memberships, no committees to be joined. This is not stubbornness. It is reverence. It is not neglect. It is obedience. For if there rise between your soul and its God a scaffold of human props, titles, posts, boards, and badges, your ear will begin to lean toward the bell that man rings, and the inner chime will be muffled. Call no man your master upon the earth, for one is your master, even Christ. The organization may be ever so sincere, the plan ever so efficient, yet if it supply you with a substitute for the 10-second turning, it becomes interference. And the reason is this: the Father within me doeth the works. We have no organization because we dare not train you to depend upon anything but that. We would not have you think, if only the office writes to me, if only the schedule is posted, I shall know what to do. No, your knowing must be born of contact. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. If you lean upon a system, you must take also its delays, its opinions, its fears, its ambitions. If you rest in the indwelling Christ, you take his yoke, which is easy, and his burden, which is light. The government shall be upon his shoulder, not upon the shoulder of a committee, nor upon the weight of your anxieties. Do not misunderstand me. Structure has its place in the marketplace and in the household. The hour hand still points. The door still swings on hinges. But here we are clearing the channel of dependency. Here we are saying, Father, thou alone art source. Thou alone art order. Thou alone art the organizer of our steps. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. If you and I make room within by refusing outer crutches, you will find, as surely as dawn follows night, that a simple word arises when it is needed. A caution checks the foot when it would slip. A warmth opens the heart when it would close. He shall guide thee continually and satisfy thy soul in drought. Some say, but how shall I be sure? By living it, not by enrollment, not by endorsement, but by demonstration. O taste and see that the Lord is good. When there is nothing to join, nothing to lean upon outwardly, you will discover whether God is real or a theory. And when once, twice, thrice, in the little things of the day, answering a letter, making a call, choosing a word, you prove that the inner nudge is faithful, your confidence ceases to be second-hand. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Peace is not printed on stationery. It flowers in the heart that has no other refuge. Let it be understood also concerning teachers. I am not your guide. I am your reminder. I am not your source. I am your witness. That source is within you. If you take what is said here and hang it like a medal upon your chest, it will tarnish. If you carry it into the quiet and say, Father, thou speak again within me, it will become a living bread. Be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. In that brotherhood there is no hierarchy, only instruments upon which the breath plays, and the music is his. So we keep the path uncluttered. We do not recruit, we invite. We do not bind, we loose. We do not gather you around a banner, we send you into the secret place. Make no move, at least without acknowledging the presence. You will learn this as a drummer learns time by keeping it, not by talking of it. And the fruitage will tell its own story. The flesh profiteth nothing. It is the spirit that quickeneth. When systems fall away, the sap flows unimpeded from vine to branch. Removing institutional crutches makes room for the inner authority to lead plainly. And then, in the smallest act and in the great decision alike, you will behold the quiet miracle. Not I, but Christ liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God. And now the question must be faced in the light we have welcomed. Why does guidance increase when systems fall away? Why does clarity come when the props are removed? It is because self-effort and grace do not occupy the same chair. When we rush ahead, we have already appointed the doer self. When we pause, we yield the chair to the only doer. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not empty. It is a transfer of agency. It is our way of saying, not I, but Christ liveth in me. And when that transfer is real, the work proceeds without the friction of our fears, our hopes, our calculations. For the Father within me doeth the works. The Master spoke the law of it. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit, for without me ye can do nothing. The branch does not consult other branches, nor does it lean upon a trellis of clever opinions. It abides. It drinks the life of the vine. Organization is a scaffolding. It can lift stone, but it cannot send sap. Systems may hold you up, but they cannot make you alive. Abide in me, and I in you. That is the highway of guidance. When the scaffolding is worshipped, the sap is ignored. When the scaffolding is removed from the heart's trust, even if it remain outwardly as a tool, the flow returns unimpeded, and fruit comes of itself. For the earth bringeth forth fruit of herself. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. What then is the practical outcome? Fewer mixed signals. The crowd fades, the shepherd is heard. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. When your confidence is divided, some in broadcasts, some in committees, some in your own anxious projections, you will hear 3 or 4 bells at once, none of them clear. But when you enter the inner closet, even for 10 seconds, and say, Father, thy presence goes before me, a single tone arises. It is not loud. It is the still small voice. It may say, wait, or right now, or turn here. And when you act upon such a word, another comes timely, never in panic, always in peace. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. And the reason this multiplies is simple. Interference is removed. Imagine a radio set with 5 stations bleeding into one another. Religious zeal, personal ambition, friendly advice, yesterday's hurt, tomorrow's dread. Turn 4 of them off, and what remains? One clear broadcast. Yielding is the off switch. Abiding is the tuning. Grace is the program that plays. When you refuse to lean upon an outer promise of direction and lean instead into the presence, the signal strengthens. He shall guide thee with his eye. Even a glance becomes instruction, because there is no crowd between you and that gaze. Do not mistake this for passivity. It is the most active life there is. Only the activity is God's. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord does not ask you to freeze in fear, but to refuse the panic march of self, so that the next step may be shown and taken in strength. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Ordered means sequenced, timely, precise. So you will find your errands arranged without strain, your words chosen without harm, your refusals as guided as your acceptances. This is the vine branch flow restored. You do not make fruit, you bear it. Let us then cease measuring guidance by volume and begin recognizing it by purity. The world shouts, the Spirit whispers. The world demands a plan, the Spirit gives a step. The world multiplies options, the Spirit simplifies obedience. Abide, pause, yield. Make no move of consequence without the inner acknowledgement, and you shall prove, not by report, but by demonstration, that when systems fall away and the heart leans wholly upon God, light increases, nudges are precise, and fruitage appears where toil once withered. Without me ye can do nothing. With me all things are ordered in quietness, and thy path as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. Now we take it out of the clouds and bring it to the doorstep. Practice one is the simplest altar you will ever build, and it is portable in your very breath. Before any act, before a call, before an email is sent, before you pick up your keys, before you say yes or no, before you step into a store or step onto a train, pause 10 seconds. Breathe unhurried. Inwardly say, Father, this is thy work. Guide thou my steps. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. The words are not magic. The meaning is the transfer. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. 10 seconds. That is all. And yet it is everything, for in that acknowledgement, the chair is yielded to the doer, and the motion of the moment becomes his. Make this your micro-liturgy throughout the day. Let the phone ring, and before your hand moves, bow within. Father, this is thy conversation. Guide thou my tongue. Keep the door of my lips. Your cursor hovers over sin. Do not rush. Pause. Father, this is thy message. If there be correction, show it now. You reach for your wallet. The glance falls upon a purchase. Breathe. Father, supply flows from within. Order this choice. Traveling, as you fasten the seatbelt, 10 seconds, I dwell in the secret place of the Most High. Thou keepest my going out and my coming in. This is not superstition, it is sonship. Pray without ceasing does not mean many words. It means many acknowledgments, sincere and brief, changing the source of motion from self to God. What shall you expect in those 10 seconds? Not always a sentence, seldom a thunderclap. Often it is a soft weight in the heart that says, wait, or a quiet lift that says, go now. Sometimes a check upon a phrase, change that word, leave out that line. Sometimes an inner warmth toward the person you are about to correct, and with it, another way to speak, he shall guide thee with his eye. An eye does not shout, it glances. And if you are turned toward it, a glance is enough. Do not strain for length or drama. If the 10 becomes 20 on occasion, so be it. But remember, vain repetition is of no value. Sincerity is the key. Agency is the transfer. Now let us be practical about the proving of it. Keep a small card or pocket notebook, not as a burden, but as a witness. 3 columns will do in the plainest hand. Acknowledged, nudge, outcome. Before a call, acknowledged. Nudge, soften the first sentence. Outcome, peaceful resolution. Before a purchase, acknowledged. Nudge, wait 1 day. Outcome, sale tomorrow, save $15. Before a trip, acknowledged. Leave 10 minutes earlier, take the side road. Outcome, accident avoided. Arrived in quiet. Write the vision and make it plain upon tables. Over a week, over a month, you will watch a pattern emerge. Confidence not borrowed from me nor from anyone, but born of your own contact. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. And if you forget to pause, or you pause and misread the nudge, be not afraid. Don't be afraid of mistakes, and don't be afraid of failures. None of them are fatal. Treat misses as instruction. Return at once to the order of 10 seconds and say, Father, I thank thee for the correction. Show me the way more perfectly. All things work together for good to them that love God. A misstep today may become tomorrow's fine-tuning, if you will keep the heart soft and the ear turned. Quench not the Spirit by self-rebuke. Rather, let the Spirit correct you in gentleness. Set your triggers now. Every threshold a pause. Hand on the doorknob, acknowledge. Cursor on send, acknowledge. Wallet in hand, acknowledge. Engine ignition, acknowledge. Meeting begins, acknowledge. Child enters the room, acknowledge. The world will call this delay. We call it order. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. As surely as you keep this tiny covenant, you will notice the day untangle. Words will come without sting. Refusals will carry no guilt. Errands will braid themselves into a quiet sequence. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Ordered means sequenced, timely, precise. So we begin here with the least of all practices and the greatest of all effects. 10 seconds, Father. This is thy work. Guide thou my steps. Practice it till it becomes the breath between every move. Then watch humbly and with thanksgiving as guidance becomes real time and fruitage appears without strain. Not I, but Christ liveth in me. The Father within me doeth the works. Now, having learned to pause, we must furnish the inner room with promises that are alive, not phrases that are worn thin by anxious lips. Vain repetition is of no value. It is the trust behind a promise that opens the ear. Adopt the red letter habit. Each morning, take one sentence spoken by the Master, those words printed in red, and let them abide in you as a present tense fact, not as a someday hope. I am the vine, ye are the branches. Do not admire it, accept it. Do not analyze it only. Rest in it. Bring the branch of your thought to the vine of his word, and quietly remain until the sap of assurance begins to rise. Let us take 3 anchors, simple and strong, and lay them like stones in the riverbed, so that the current of the day does not sweep you away. First, my grace is sufficient for thee. Say it faithfully as sonship. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not tomorrow now, not for the hero now, for you. Sit with it in the early hour and again at midday and in the small pauses we have been practicing. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let it be breathed, not barked. Leave a little silence after it, a listening space, and watch how fear begins to loosen its fingers, how the inner climate warms. And then, in that softening, notice what arises. A nudge to call, a word to omit, a delay to receive. Guidance follows assurance, like fruit follows root. Second, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Make no ritual of chanting, make a resting of it. In the moment when the world would stampede you into choice, stay your mind. Thou wilt keep me in perfect peace. Do you feel the verb? Wilt keep? Not you keeping yourself. He keepeth. Yielding to that keeping, and the hurry that was masquerading as importance will reveal itself as fear. Peace is not an emotion you manufacture. It is the government of God upon the heart. In that peace there is a clarity. Out of that clarity, the step for this hour, only this hour, will show itself, and it will not be born of dread. Third, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Do not move it to the future. Refuse the grammar of lack. I shall not want. For what? For wisdom in this call, for provision in this bill, for tact in this correction, for rest in this night. Say it as one under a shepherd's eye. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Then pause. Let the staff and rod do their work inside you until the neediness in the tone fades and the gratitude appears. You will notice perhaps a practical direction. Cancel that order, postpone that meeting, forgive that debt, take the earlier train. The shepherding is not sentimental, it is precise. Make a small practice of it. In the morning, one red letter line, I am the vine, ye are the branches. Speak it within and ask, Father, work this word in me. At noon, one anchor, thy grace is my sufficiency. In the evening, close the door with, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Between these, turn to, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whenever the heart flutters. Keep the words few and the trust deep. Do not try to wrestle outcomes. Rest until the inward weather changes, and then move on, the gentle nudge that comes, even if it is only wait. Some of you will ask, how shall I know I am not merely consoling myself by the fruit? These are not narcotics. They are keys. The proof will be found in ordered steps, in softened speech, in timely provision, in reconciliations that your arguments could not win. He that is within me is greater than any problem in the world. Scripture, received as present tense guarantee, does not inflate pride, it dissolves it. It turns us from getting to receiving, and from receiving to giving. Having been steadied, you will steady others. Having been shepherded, you will move as a quiet signpost without trying to be one. Therefore, make no move, at least, without a promise under your feet. 10 seconds to acknowledge the doer. 1 sentence to rest the heart. 1 silence to listen for the glance that guides. Keep a red-letter word near. Keep these 3 anchors ready. Thy grace is sufficient. Thou wilt keep in perfect peace. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Trust them as realities. Lean into them as one leans into a well-built railing, and you shall discover that the ear is tuned as the heart is steadied, and guidance, far from being rare and noisy, becomes continuous, quiet, and exact. Abide in me, and I in you. The promise is not an ornament. It is the vine's life in the branch, the present flow that makes fruitage certain. There is among us a woman named Elena, a director of a non-profit whose work touches the poor and the forgotten. For years she lived by the bell of committees, polling her board for every turn, circulating drafts for every word, arranging meetings to decide whether to have another meeting. She did not lack sincerity. She lacked quiet. And with all her polling, the signal was mixed. The counsel was generous but contradictory. One said, hurry. Another said, wait. A third proposed a plan that would take 6 weeks to decide what must be done by Friday. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. When she heard of this simple altar 10 seconds before any act, she sighed as if someone had asked her to climb a mountain. 10 seconds, she said. I have not 10 seconds to spare. Well, that very confession exposed the idol. And because her heart was true, she tried it. On the first morning, she wrote upon a small card, Father, this is thy work. Guide thou my steps. Then the day rose with a storm. A funding gap appeared like a hole in the road. Money pledged had not arrived. Payroll and a promised supply delivery sat like stones on her desk. Her old habit leapt up. Draft the emergency email, ping the board, prepare the long explanation, brace for delay. But she stopped her hand on the keyboard and gave the 10 seconds, Father, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Show me the step for this hour. In that quiet, not a sentence, but a thought like a soft light came. Call Mara now. No polling, no memo, just the glance of God upon a name. He shall guide thee with his eye. She hesitated. Mara was a program officer she had not spoken with in months. The relationship was cordial but formal. Every efficient bone in her urged, first rally the committee, but she obeyed the glance. She dialed and began without panic. Mara, I don't know why I am calling you first, except that I am. Then she paused again within. Keep the door of my lips. What followed was not bargaining. It was the shepherd going before his sheep. I'm glad you called, came the answer. We have a small reserve for urgent continuity, no publicity, just a quiet bridge for partners who have proved faithful. 1 form, 1 conversation, 1 same-day approval. My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. That afternoon, Elena sat at her desk and wept not for the funds, though they mattered, but for the ease with which a yoke had lifted. The emergency email was never sent. The board, when informed, did not feel bypassed. They felt relief. The government was upon his shoulder all along. In the weeks that followed, the practice multiplied. She set her triggers: hand on the door, acknowledge; cursor on send, acknowledge; before staff meeting, acknowledge. Inwardly, always the same little altar: Father, this is thy meeting, let thy peace be the chair. The second fruitage was not in dollars, but in hearts. 2 team members, both skillful, had let a difference harden into distance. Meetings had become a chessboard, every phrase a move. Elena's training would have gathered a task force to mediate. Instead, she paused 10 seconds and asked under her breath, Lord, what wouldst thou have me do? A single phrase appeared: own your anxiety. She did not want to, but obedience is better than sacrifice. At the meeting's open, before agenda and charts, she said quietly, friends, I have been pushing you because I have been afraid. I ask your forgiveness. There was no theater in it. It was a soft answer. A soft answer turneth away wrath. One colleague's jaw unclenched, another's eyes filled. Then, as if a cork had been lifted, admission and forgiveness flowed. I have been defensive, said one. I have been slow to answer, said another. The 10-second glance came again. Say only this. She added, let us take 30 seconds. And they did not enforce piety, but in stillness. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. When they rose from that silence, the contest had ended. The work did not dissolve. It became simple. Assignments arranged themselves. Timelines breathed. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Now, note the lesson, for it answers a fear some of you secretly carry. If I stop polling and begin pausing, will I become a law unto myself? Will autonomy isolate me? No. True autonomy is not isolation. It is alignment. When Elena yielded to the inward authority, she did not become a lone ranger. She became a shepherded branch, and the sap ran through the whole vine. Her team began to trust her peace because it was not her personality, it was presence. She did not impose her pauses. She offered them. Before we begin, 10 seconds, she would say, and men and women who had scoffed at prayer found themselves grateful for breath. Where committees had tangled decisions, daily contact untied them. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. This is the testimony. Inner contact, simplified leadership, produced timely answers, and reconciled relationships. Not I, but Christ liveth in me. And the life that emerged among them bore witness that the quiet authority of peace is the only government worth following. There is also among us a man named David, a freelance designer whose craft is keen and whose heart was growing tired. He had been told, and told again, that the way to steady his income was to purchase memberships, 3 platforms this week, a directory next month, a coaching cohort by spring. Each promised leads if only he would pay the fee, learn the algorithm, hustle the pitch. He tried, and with every sign-up, his hope lifted for an hour and dropped by evening. The inbox filled with ill-fitting requests. The price haggles were small and the timelines frantic. It was not abundance, it was nibbling. Consider the lilies. They toil not, yet they are clothed. One morning, with the renewal dates blinking on his screen like red lights, he remembered the altar we have built. He pushed the chair back, shut his eyes 10 seconds, and said, Father, this is thy work. Guide thou my steps. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In that stillness came a question we have made our own. What have you in the house? He looked, and it was simple. 2 unbooked hours this very day. a kind way with anxious clients, an eye that finds the clean line quickly, and two names rising like buoys in his mind, a neighborhood baker who had once asked for menu advice, and a counselor he admired who struggled with a hard-to-read website. Then another phrase as familiar as bread, break and divide. He understood. Stop trying to get. Let skill flow out. He wrote to the baker first, I have 2 hours today, no charge, no strings. If you will let me, I'll sit with you and make a clear one-page menu you can print this week. He paused before clicking send, inwardly, Lord, keep the door of my lips. Then to the counselor with the same quiet tone, I'd like to gift you a clean layout for your intake form. It will make your first meetings gentler. No pitch, no mention of portfolios or referrals. Freely ye have received, freely give. He kept the altar before each call. 10 seconds. Father, this is thy conversation. He listened more than he spoke. He drew a simple typographic menu for the baker and suggested a small pricing clarity she had feared to make. A soft answer turneth away wrath, and her fear turned toward courage. For the counselor, he removed unnecessary fields, made the language humane, and placed a gentle promise at the top. You are safe here. The peace that was in him found its way into the lines of ink and spacing. Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. By evening he had earned nothing measurable and yet felt strangely rich. The next morning the fruitage began not from the platforms he did not pay, but from the flow he did not withhold. The baker texted, our lunch crowd doubled. My supplier's cafe asked who did this. May I give them your name? That cafe called the same day and did not haggle. They asked for 3 pieces in a month and named a fair price without being coaxed. The counselor sent a note. My first sessions felt kinder. I told a colleague her clinic needs a designer who can listen. 2 appointments appeared within 48 hours, and with them something rarer than volume, right fit clients, the kind that match your grace and do not strain it. He that watereth shall be watered also himself. There was more. As he sat to pay the renewal fees, he paused again. Father, is this thy yoke? A glance within said, wait. He canceled 1 trial, delayed a second, and let the 3rd simply lapse. In that same week, the invoices from the new work covered the amount of the memberships he did not buy and the balance on his rent with room for the tithe of gratitude. My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. The math was not dramatic. It was exact, and the exactness was a sign that the government had shifted shoulders. The Father within me doeth the works. Do you see the principle? Nothing must come to you or to me. Everything must flow out from us. The flow may be 2 hours, a listening ear, a draft others can refine. What have you in the house? Do not search the horizon. Open your cupboard, then break and divide. Break the time into a gift. Divide the skill into an act of love. When love and truth go out, supply multiplies on the inside, confidence, peace, clarity, and on the outside, calls that belong to you, work that does not bruise, prices that do not shame you. Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. In David's case, it was not many days, it was few. But had it been longer, the law would have held, because the law is not barter, it is being. I live, yet not I. Christ is living my life. It was the master who fed the multitudes, not the multitudes who fed the master. And when David ceased trying to feed himself with memberships and let the imprisoned splendor escape the baskets filled, and there was no strain in the gathering. So then let this testimony settle the fear that says, if I do not sign up, I will dry up. No. If you will abide and let it flow, you will prove the opposite, as simple as breathing. Make your 10-second acknowledgement before the day's work. Ask, what have I in the house? Offer one or two pieces of your grace without fee as you are led, not as a technique, but as obedience. Watch quietly as referrals arrive by ways you could not script and as right-fit clients. Those who know your voice when they hear it find you in peace. The branch does not canvas, it abides, and sap becomes fruitage. Without me ye can do nothing. With me, even 2 hours in a willing heart will feed a week. Now to a matter that frightens sincere hearts. Risk. Be not afraid. Guidance is not learned in the library alone, it is learned in the doing. A lamp does not light the entire road, it gives enough for the next step. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The path is proved by feet, not by theories. Therefore act when the nudge is gentle, and when correction comes, receive it at once with thanks and alter your course without drama. Don't be afraid of mistakes and don't be afraid of failures. None of them are fatal. Under grace, missteps become instruction. There was a day, and some of you will remember the story, when I was to cross from New York to London for a week of quiet meetings. Tickets were in hand, bags set by the door, friends already informed. All arrangements said, go Thursday. But in that early pause, a mere 10 seconds, the inner glance was plain. Not Thursday, Friday, nothing more. No thunder, only that slight weight that comes when the shepherd lays his staff across the path. I confess I argued. Changing a ticket then was not a click. It was a day's inconvenience and a fee that made the mind wince. But the glance came again. Not Thursday, Friday. I obeyed. Two things unfolded. First, the Thursday crossing was delayed by a mechanical fault and weather across the banks. Passengers sat long and landed late, with frayed tempers and lost connections. But more than weather was in it. Waiting on that Thursday was a zealous promoter with a glittering proposal. A circuit, a structure, a set of papers that would have made our little meetings an enterprise. It was handsome. It was also a yoke. Had I arrived that day, I should have been compelled to sit in the room of promises and penalties and be polite for hours. By Friday, the promoter had gone his way. In his place, a woman named Ruth, who had quietly been praying for a circle in her home, met me at the door with tea and 4 friends who had no wish for posters or pledges, only for presents. The better door stood open because the lesser door was missed. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. You see the lesson. Risk is not in the obeying. Risk is in refusing the glance, in insisting upon our itinerary because the ticket is printed. The Father within me doeth the works. If he say, not that way, bless the correction. Change the plan, swallow the fee. He that believeth shall not make haste. And when you do miss, for we are learning, and a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again. I remember drafting a firm letter, true in content, sharp in tone. The inner light spoke even as my finger hovered. Not that way. I sent it anyway, under the banner of justice. Immediately came the grief that attends disobedience. Not punishment, but the sense of dissonance. I stopped. Father, without thee I can do nothing. Thank thee for thy correction. I called at once, owned my haste, and asked to read a humbler note aloud. The peace returned as if a window had been opened. The relationship, which might have withered for a season, was spared within an hour. Whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth not with blows, but with a guiding eye and a soft hand. Make then 3 small covenants. First, act on first light. If the nudge is to wait, wait. If the nudge is to go, go. Second, if correction comes, obey at once. Reverse course, rewrite the line, reschedule the meeting. Make no idol of your momentum. Third, release self-reproach quickly. Perfect love casteth out fear, including fear of failure. Say within, Father, I thank thee that even my stumblings are gathered into thy order. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. This courage is not bravado, it is trust. It grows with each obedient inch. In time you will find that guidance becomes dependable, not because you are perfect, but because you are perfectly willing to be steered. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down. For the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. Keep the 10-second order. Risk the small obediences. Bow swiftly under correction. And you will discover that what the world calls risk is, for sons and daughters, simply being led. If we are to walk thus pausing, obeying, welcoming correction, what then is the place of teacher and structure? Hear it plainly, for it matters to your liberty. We have no organization. We have no memberships. There are no rolls to sign, no dues to pay, no cards to carry. Why? Because the classroom is your heart and the teacher is within. Call no man your master upon the earth, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. If we tied you to a system, we would loosen you from the source, and that we dare not do. What then am I to you? At best, an instrument, at most, a finger pointing to the Sunday. The Father within me doeth the works. If a word in this hour nourisheth you, give thanks not to my personality, but to the presence that fed us both. It was the Master who fed the multitudes, not the multitudes who fed the Master. Any man or woman called teacher must remember this. The bread is not baked in us. It is broken through us. Freely ye have received, freely give. Organization tempts us to lean on rails that are not God. Memberships promise safety newsletters, ladders, committees, prestige, but they train the ear to heed announcements rather than the still small voice. The letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. We strip off these crutches not to leave you lame, but to clear the channel of dependence so that the inward authority may speak without interference. And he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. When the structure is quieted, the word comes sharp and sweet, and fruitage appears without strain. Some of you ask, but how shall I trust if I cannot hold to a personality or a banner? Trust the presence. Cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord. Personalities wither, structures shift, the weather of men is changeable, but the word endureth forever, and the inner unction abideth. The anointing which ye have received of him abideth in you, and ye need not that any man teach you, meaning you need not a man as source. Teachers, books, gatherings may confirm, may ignite, may correct, but they are aids, never authority. Your authority is within, where the vine meets the branch, and the sap that flows there never withereth. How, then, shall we move together? Simply, if ever you hear me, and it feeds you, receive it as bread, not as leash. Test every word at the little altar. 10 seconds, Father. Is this thy voice to me? If the peace abides and the light holds, walk in it. If it does not, wait without fear and without resentment. Make no idol of any teacher's phrase. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils. Our fellowship is not to bind you to us, but to free you into God. Should the day come when you are no longer nourished here, go in peace. Follow the presence. We shall be glad that you have learned your teacher. And as to giving, hear this and be free. It is the teacher's joy to feed. It is the student's liberty to give as led, not as levied. We have no envelopes marked due. Give where you are fed, and only as the inner nudge approves. Nothing must come to you or to me. Everything must flow out from us. love, truth, forgiveness, and when prompted, support. The moment we reverse the flow and organize to draw supply to us, we have left the Master's yoke. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. This ethos asks courage because it denies you the comfort of leaning on a human shoulder, but it gives you the comforter. And when you prove him in your own room, you will not be swayed by the weather of personalities. You will come to gatherings not as beggars of influence, but as branches already abiding, ready to share sap. You will listen to teachers without fear or fawning, grateful when the bread is broken, untroubled when silence is the better feast. And the trust of your life will be placed not in names that pass, but in the name that is above every name. Abide in me, and I in you. No memberships, no machinery, only God within leading you. That is enough. And in that enoughness, guidance multiplies and fruitage appears, because the government is upon his shoulder, and your heart has learned where its teacher lives. Now, because love must take a form and grace must have a doorway, let us set a simple living rule, a non-organization you can keep without a card, a title, or a calendar invite. 3 pauses, 1 promise, 1 flow out. This is enough to keep the sap running and the air tuned. First, the 3 pauses. Morning, 2 or 3 minutes before the world calls your name. Sit, stand, or lie still if you must, but be still. Whisper within, Father, this is thy session. This is thy day. I am the branch. Thou art the vine. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Wait without words until the heart grows quiet. If a name, a step, or a restraint appears, receive it as you would bread. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Midday, when the sun is overhead and the mind is busy, withdraw for 2 or 3 minutes. Do not apologize to time. Time is the servant of the Lord. Say softly, Father, we return. Correct me if I have leaned upon my own arm. Is there one to forgive, one to bless, one thing to lay down? He shall guide thee with his eye. Evening, before sleep, another 2 or 3 minutes, hand the day back. Father, I thank thee. Where I have missed, I accept thy gentle correction. Where I have obeyed, I give thee the glory. I forgive all, I release all, and I am released. Into thy hands I commit my spirit. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Second, word abiding. Take 1 red letter promise each day, only 1, and carry it like flint. In the morning, choose it. By noon, lean on it. By evening, let it answer the day. It may be, abide in me and I in you. It may be, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. It may be, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Write it on a card or in the margin of your palm. Speak it at each crossroads, not as magic but as assurance. Vain repetition is of no value. Living trust is. As you make decisions, weigh them in that word. Does this abide? Does this keep peace? Does this honor the kingdom already given? If a step aligns, take it. If it jars the promise, wait. The entrance of thy words giveth light. Third, the flow out action. Each day, let love, truth, or forgiveness move through you as a tangible deed. Ask, what have I in the house? Have I 30 attentive minutes? Then give them to someone anxious. Listen without fixing. Have I clarity for a confused page or plan? Then offer a clean line or a kind of phrase. Have I a hurt I have been nursing? Then forgive on the spot, and, if led, confess your side. Freely ye have received, freely give. Do not stage it, obey it. Make the gift small enough to do now and real enough to cost a sliver of self. Break and divide. As you give, keep the inner glance. Father, this is thy outflow. He that watereth shall be watered also himself. Keep a quiet ledger, not for boasting, but for remembrance. A small page will do. Note the promise of the day, the pauses kept, the outflow given, and the fruitage that ensued. A softened answer, a right fit call, a correction caught before harm. What mean ye by these stones? They are your witness that guidance multiplies when the channel is kept clear. If a day is ragged and the pauses are missed, write that too and rise without self-reproach. The mercies of the Lord are new every morning. Make now, within a ceiling of this rule, say it simply, I will keep 3 pauses, morning, midday, evening. I will carry 1 word from the Master daily. I will let 1 act of love or truth or forgiveness flow out as I am led. And above it all and beneath it all, let this be your breath. I live, yet not I. Christ liveth in me. Then walk. Do not strain to notice results. Let them find you. You will discover that decisions grow plain, timing grows exact, and supply grows precise, not noisy, not late, but sufficient as the hour requires. For the Father within you doeth the work. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Keep the pauses. Abide in the word. Let it flow, and you shall see, quietly and surely, that the government is upon his shoulder, and that your days, unorganized yet ordered, bear fruit that remaineth.